Hey Ted, this is Pat. We're down in my garage with 2 dogs and my wife is making this video. Thought it would just be easier to do it this way than try to explain it on paper, even though I did include a write-up in the manual. So what I'm going to do is go through the tune-up procedure here. I've got the old ICOM 735 here, and what I normally do is set this to about half of the normal output that you would use for the start the tune-up. So right now, if you look at the meter here, and you show the meter right here if you can, it's about 25 watts out. So that's where we're going to start. We'll eventually move it up to about 40 or so, but right now it's 20 watts out. So now we're going to start the tune-up procedure. The first thing to do is, I should have mentioned this at first, be sure to let the amp warm up for at least 2 minutes before you do anything. The tubes are directly heated cathodes, so they have to heat up first, so at least 2 minutes. I've got it on the 2500 volt setting and on, so now it's on standby, which means the amp is bypassed. So now I'll put this to operate. When I put it to operate, if I key the transmitter, it keys the amp as well. So I'm going to set this to current, and you'll see when you key it, we get resting bias of about, it ought to be between 100 and 150 volts. 150 amps, resting bias. It's adjustable, but that's about right. So we're going to go ahead and key it, and you'll notice the fan speeds up. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but the fan does speed up when you key it. And what we want to do is watch the grid meter, and we want to be sure that we never go over 300 milliamps of grid current. The meter reads high, so when it says 250, it's really 200, and after 300 is about 250. So, and that's pretty good. We're within the specs of the tubes. So I'm going to set that to 1,000. And the tune-up procedure, you really don't pay any attention to the plate current. The dip on the plate current is about the same as maximum output, but we're grounded grid, tuned for maximum output. So we'll go ahead and key it. And you need to tune by the meter. Actually, I'm looking over here at the monitor scope to key. And just tune it for maximum output. And you see we're getting about almost 400 amps, 400 watts out. And plate currents a little bit below 200. We're below 200 milliamps of grid current, so that's good. So once we've got that, next thing to do is to move the loaded control up close to the values I've got in the book. Just to increase output a little bit. So we do that, we increase output some, re-peak the output, come on up some more with it, and that's about, so we're looking at about 500 watts out there. And we're only got 100 milliamps of grid, so we know we can do better. Now, the next thing to do is to make sure we're matched to the input, and that's the LDG automatic tuner. And the way to do that, if you've used the frequency before, you just key it, bump it there, and it'll find the closest match. You saw the light come on, so it found the closest match it has in memory. And it's about the same. But if you want to do a full tuning cycle, which you really only have to do occasionally, again, key it, hold this in for a couple of seconds, and then let it up. And you see the light stays on, and you can hear the relays chattering. So now it's going through and trying all the possible settings. And you just key it off and on, off and on. And like I mentioned on the phone, the LDG saves its settings with latching relays, so you can do this off and on without stressing the amp. And it'll take, a few seconds to do it. It eventually stops. So the light goes off. Now we've got a new setting there. And actually now we can go ahead and bring this up some more. peak the tuning again. And now we can start the increased drive because we're only about 50 milliamps. So you see now we're about 150 mils. And there's about 250 mils of grid current. And about 700 watts out. And we're dropped a little bit when we did that, so we bring this up a little more. And we're back to 250, and we're about, well, we're getting up close to 800 out there. Yep, getting up close to it. So that's the tune-up procedure. And what I normally do, once you get the maximum loaded, go just a little bit beyond it so it drops just a little, and that helps linearity. You actually see that if you hook up the scope to show a trapezoid pattern. And you see we're right at 800 watts, and we're driving about 200 milliamps of grid, so we could go a little bit more even. And plate current 700. Our voltage drops down to about 1800 under load, and all that looks good. So that's the tune-up procedure, Ted, and I will include a write-up of that, and I plan to ship the amp out today. Say hi to Ted, dear. My wife doesn't want to say hi. Okay, signing off, 73s. I hope you enjoy the amp as much as I did building it.